Whoever killed you wanted you to suffer.
Detective Jack Leon said to the dead body that was lying on the floor. The body was 46-year-old Rich Vanilla. Yes, that was his legal name. Rich was a musician who had a hit song in 1999.
Life's no fun when you give it away. Life's no fun when you give it away.
His career had been in a steady descent from that peak ever since. From what Jack learned, Rich lived on relatively meager royalty checks. He could have probably gone on tour, and even on just the strength of that one hit song, he could have made a decent living. But apparently, Rich's behavior on the road was a bit too wild. Also, Rich apparently wasn't interested in playing live anymore. Instead, Rich had become obsessed with writing the perfect song. Rich lived in an apartment with a roommate named Alistair Bright. Alistair was the person who called 911 after finding the body. It was apparent to the first responders that Rich Vanilla had been dead for days. His death was brutal. His wrists had been bound with a thin guitar string. The other end of the string was tied to a very sturdy light fixture, which was attached to the ceiling. The way he was strung up, his wrists were above his head. This put Rich in a perilous position. If he tried to escape, the guitar string would have tightened and cut into his wrists. If he decided to wait for help, he would have gotten tired and tried to lower his arms, which would cause the guitar string to tighten around his wrists, and it would have cut him. It was a lose-lose position. Jack couldn't tell if Rich died as he was trying to escape, or because he became too tired. Regardless, he ended up bleeding to death. The medical examiner thought he had been dead for about 5 days. Jack started his interviews by talking to Alistair Bright.
When was the last time you saw your roommate, Mr. Bright?
Please call me Alistair. I saw him about 5 days ago.
And you just reported finding his body today.
Yeah, Rich rarely left his room, and it was completely soundproof. Even when he played the drums, I couldn't hear him. Because his room was soundproof, I was never sure when he was home. Also, I worked long hours at my brokerage firm, so I rarely encountered Rich. Living with Rich was kind of like being haunted by a ghost. Sometimes I saw him coming and going to the washroom, and food would go missing from the kitchen, but other than that, I didn't see him. We barely interacted.
And, how was your relationship with your roommate?
Great. I mean, I already told you I didn't see or hear him.
Did anyone visit Mr. Vanilla?
Oh yeah, every so often this crazy woman named Mandy Manilow would visit him. She was like a groupie or something. She's a lunatic. I was always aware when she was in the apartment. She had violent mood swings. Whenever she came into one of the common areas, like the kitchen or the living room, I never knew what version of Mandy I was gonna have to deal with. Sometimes she'd act like my best friend and offer to make me dinner, and other times she threatened to carve me up with a butcher knife.
Did you ever report these threats to the police?
No. I always thought she just said crazy things and wouldn't follow through with them. But after seeing Rich, I maybe should have gone to the police.
Okay. Now, do you know what Mr. Vanilla meant by the perfect song?
No, actually, we never talked about that. I think Rich wanted to write a song with mass appeal, bigger than that one hit he had 20 years ago.
Do you know why anyone would want to hurt Mr. Vanilla?
You mean besides Mandy?
Well, if you know of a reason why Mandy would want to hurt him, I would like to know about it. But I really meant, did you know anyone who would have wanted to hurt Mr. Vanilla? From what I understand about Mr. Vanilla's career, well, he burned a lot of bridges with his erratic behavior.
Well, I don't know any specific reason why Mandy would want to kill him. I just know she's crazy. As for anyone else, I don't think so. I've been living with Rich for about a year, and he didn't have any run-ins with anyone. It seemed like he lived a lonely existence.
So, how did you meet Mr. Vanilla? and come to live with him?
My dad is his accountant, and he knew that Rich needed a roommate, and this place is a few blocks from my office. My dad also told me Rich would probably just stay in his room most of the time, and it turned out he was right.
Okay, Mr. Bright. Thanks for answering my questions. If I have any follow-up questions, I'll let you know.
Jack then went into Rich Vanilla's bedroom. There were about a dozen instruments, including a drum set, a keyboard, a couple of guitars, a bass, and amplifiers. There were also stacks and stacks of paper everywhere. There were even stacks of paper surrounding the bed. Jack had no idea how many pieces of paper were lying around the room. It could have been millions. Jack walked over to one of the stacks and looked at the top page. It was sheet music with lyrics. Jack couldn't read sheet music and didn't know what any of the notations meant. He then walked over to a music stand. There were some lyrics written on the paper, but there were no musical notes. Jack continued to look around the room, but didn't find much else of interest. He decided to go see Mandy Manilow. He flashed his badge, and she let him into her apartment. It was a shrine to 90s rock stars.
What do you want, Detective?
Mandy asked. Jack understood that small talk wasn't Mandy's thing.
I'm Detective Jack Leon. I want to ask you about your boyfriend,
What boyfriend?
Mr. Rich Vanilla.
He ain't my boyfriend, okay?
That's not what Mr. Alistair Bright said.
Jeez, really hope you don't believe what that psychopath said. You know he's in a cult, right?
No, I did not know that.
All I'm saying is that he's a crazy SOB. I wouldn't trust him. He acts all calm and nice, but he's a wolf. Be careful of him and that cult. They're obsessed with some book or an author or something like that. I get the cults confused.
I'll keep that in mind. Do you think Mr. Bright had any reason to hurt Mr. Vanilla?
I don't know. I just know the dude gave me the creeps.
All right, Miss Manilow. So you're saying that you never had an intimate relationship with Mr. Vanilla?
I didn't say that. I just said that Rich wasn't my boyfriend. I spend time with several men, okay? I'm a modern woman.
Well, now there is no easy way to ask this, but I'm not here to bust you, Miss Manilow. Are you a sex worker?
How dare you? I'm not a prostitute. Jeez, man.
I'm sorry, I had to ask. When was the last time you saw Mr. Vanilla?
I don't know, like 5 days ago?
What'd you two do?
Same thing we usually do. I go over every few weeks when I'm bored. We'd hang out for a few days, and Rich would play me music that he'd recently written, and we'd have sex. After a few days, I'd get bored and leave. Why are you asking about Richie? What did he do? Did he have a freak out or something?
Was he known to freak out?
Once in a while he would. Richie was obsessed with writing the perfect song, and that is what he spent a lot of time doing. He often played these songs for me, and, well, they were far from perfect. I thought a lot of them were boring and monotonous. They just didn't have any hooks, you know? I wanted him to play cover songs or even some of his old songs, and he would refuse. He said that songs that were already written had no appeal to him because he was trying to write something no one had ever heard before. Sometimes he would get angry when I asked him to play a cover song, and I thought it was strange because I knew he kept up with new music. When he wasn't playing or writing, he was listening to music. And he had like an encyclopedic knowledge of music. But when I would press him to play other songs, he'd refuse and then lose his temper. He'd throw things and kick me out.
Did Mr. Vanilla explain to you what he considered to be a perfect song?
He was always vague, but he wanted it to be timeless and transcend genres so that anybody would love it. I honestly don't think he knew what he meant by a perfect song. I think he was just mentally unwell. Detective, you never told me why you're here.
Well, there is no easy way to say this, but Mr. Vanilla was found dead in his bedroom.
Oh no. What happened?
Well, we're keeping that confidential for now, but I can tell you that we are investigating it as a homicide.
Are you sure it was a murder?
Based on how he died, I'm pretty confident he was murdered. But why did you ask that? Was Mr. Vanilla suicidal?
Well, Richie talked about suicide all the time. He often said he was either going to figure out the perfect song or he was going to off himself in a memorable way. He wanted his death to be some type of spectacle so people would remember him for being something other than a one-hit wonder.
Did he ever talk about how he would kill himself? You know, if he chose that route.
No, he just said that people wouldn't forget it.
Alright, can you think of anyone who would have wanted to hurt Mr. Vanilla? Like an ex-band member or a former business partner?
No, he usually just kept to himself. I don't know anyone who would have wanted to hurt him.
Okay, Miss Manilow. If I think of anything else, I'll be in contact. Please let me know if you remember anything that maybe have help in the investigation.
When Jack got back to his office, he sat down at his desk. He realized that he had no idea what was going on with this case. Did Rich Vanilla kill himself, or did someone else do it? Did Jack find any clues to help in his investigation?
Thanks a lot for watching today's video. We'll have the answer to this video next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An hour later, we'll have a brand new mystery. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your investigation.